Sinners is a popular movie that's currently getting a lot of praise. The movie seems to take inspiration from multiple genres and types of movies, which is a fun decision that could lead to a creative story. In this essay, I want to look at the specific elements that may or may not have been inspired by certain movies and see how well they hold up compared to the original. Spoilers for Get Out, Whiplash, Elvis, and Ocean's 11. The first element is race horror. Sinners has a horror element that has a decent focus on race, similar to Get Out, which executed this idea very well. It was based around the idea that white people thought black people had better bodies for things like athletics. So the horror element is that there's a secret organization of white people that surgically put their white buyers into black bodies after capturing black victims. This is the central focus of the story, the backbone. The horror element in Sinners is how a black genre like blues attracts the devil and vampires. But then Remick, the lead vampire, isn't even racist. He just wants Sammy because his blues has the power to transcend reality. It has nothing to do with his race. And then the actual racists are only in the beginning and the end of the movie. They're completely disconnected to the vampires and mostly irrelevant to the plot. The juke joint being a KKK death trap is unimportant until the third act. The horror and the race aren't connected on a plot level or conceptual level. The next element is the character arc and theme. Whiplash is a great example of this, also being a musical movie. There are two competing beliefs: sacrifice everything to be a top musician versus it's okay to be normal. Andrew starts neutral, but Fletcher is on the music side, the lie, while Andrew's dad is on the normal side, the truth. Andrew's arc has him being lured to the lie by Fletcher, going back to neutral after being kicked out of the band, and then going back to the lie in the climax, which is an epic display of his choice. This is a negative character arc, and Sinners does something similar from my understanding. The two competing beliefs are stay safe with church music versus risk danger with devilish blues. Sammy's father is on the church side, but Sammy's on the blues side. After his values are tested by the vampire attack, Sammy has a chance to renounce blues and return to the church, but he refuses. He chooses to stick with blues. I see this as him sticking to the lie, which would be a negative flat arc. The first issue is how relevant the competing beliefs are. In Whiplash, Fletcher's abusive methods for training musicians to become elite make the majority of the plot. We are consistently seeing him enforce his side of the theme. In Sinners, the blues is evil idea is only relevant once, and that's when Remick is summoned by it. There aren't multiple scenes of blues being evil. The magic of blues is severely underused. Sammy and his father don't constantly debate or express their side of the thematic argument throughout the film. Before and after Remick appears, the evil nature of blues is irrelevant, invisible. All of this makes the theme weaker than Whiplash. The second issue is the way the character arc is resolved. It might be unfair to compare Sinners to an elite movie like Whiplash, but it's worth noting. In Whiplash, Andrew completes his arc in the climax and has an epic scene displaying the completion of his arc. That scene is his brilliant music performance. It fused arc completion, climax, and excitement into one. In Sinners, the climax is Smoke versus the KKK, which is unrelated to Sammy's arc and theme. Sammy has a scene where he completes his arc, but it's not exciting or memorable. This was a missed opportunity. The next element is the music scenes. Regardless of whether you like the music or not, there are writing skills that I've seen used to improve musical numbers. For this, I'll use Whiplash and Elvis. These two films put narrative arcs into their performances to make them ascend to another level. In Whiplash's climax, there's a story about Andrew falling to rock bottom and rising to the top. Fletcher just humiliated him in front of a professional music crowd, and he felt defeated. After walking away, he returned to the stage and started playing without the conductor. He moved his new bandmates to follow his lead, and even Fletcher was forced to go along with it. Throughout the performance, Fletcher went from threatening Andrew to actively helping him have the best performance possible. It all ended with Andrew on top, proving Fletcher's abusive methods work. In Elvis's first performance, he starts off nervous and is insulted by a guy in the crowd. Despite this, he starts singing and dancing, and the girlfriend of the guy who heckled him starts screaming. After Elvis is informed that his dancing is what's exciting them, he goes all in and makes the crowd go wild. The crowd went from silent to obsessed over the course of the song. There are more examples, but I'll stop there. What about Sinners? When Sammy sings I Lied to You, he just sings it. Everyone in the room is already rooting for him to succeed here. There's no struggle, no narrative arc, no conflict. It's just singing, which is weaker writing. There's some exposition about how blues is magical, but exposition during a musical number is not nearly as strong as weaving in a narrative arc. This magical element of blues is further wasted by the fact that it's absent from the rest of the movie. If it wasn't, I could at least give this scene credit for being a setup to a payoff. It's the same for when Perline sings. She's just singing and there's no story development directly related to the music. There's plot going on separate from the singing, but the singing scene itself is unimpressive. You could shorten it or remove it and nothing would change. The last element is the heist element. In the movie, Smoke and Stack gather a crew for a job, similar to how Danny Ocean does the same in Ocean's 11. There are some problems though. The first is that Danny has a stronger reason for his job. His wife divorced him and married someone else with casinos. As a thief, Danny wanted to get his wife back and get revenge on the new husband by robbing his casinos. In Sinners, the twins' reason for starting the juke joint is nothing more than business and pleasure. Like Danny, the twins gather specific characters for their specific abilities. The second problem is the difference in how these skills are used. In Ocean's 11, we see how each unique skill is relevant to the actual heist. Each character brings something unique to the table and has a unique role. In Sinners, each person has a unique role in the party, but there's no way to gauge just how important most of them were. Did the musicians, singers, and cooks really make that much of a difference? I can't tell. The third problem is the mission itself. Danny got his crew for a high-stakes mission where we can see the skills in action. The twins got the crew for a party with low stakes. The only conflict in the mission was that they weren't making enough money, but then Sinners turns into a vampire horror movie. Unfortunately, this put most of the characters on even ground skill-wise, and now no one is special except for the voodoo lady, further wasting the heist element. So in Ocean's 11, each person is special and has an important role in a high-stakes mission. In Sinners, the impact of each unique skill in the mission is almost imperceivable, and they become irrelevant once the vampires attack, which is about halfway through. Those are the main elements that I found interesting and had valuable comparisons for. Sinners tries to blend race horror, music, and heist into one film, but it spreads itself too thin. It isn't a master of any of these skills, and the writing ends up feeling like a jumbled assortment of unique elements rather than a smoothie that cohesively blends everything together.